Star Wars canon is kind of insane for not addressing the basic question we'll be looking at in today's video. I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. Just a reminder, we've revamped the Eckhart's Ladder Patreon. We've got some new and fun rewards coming soon. I'll link to that down below, and we also have some brand new merch on the Eckhart's Ladder store, including these awesome stickers. But enough shilling my own wares. I got this interesting question from Call Me the Fishy. Okay, Fishy. How did the Bothans create their spy ring, and how did they maintain it during the Empire? And okay, I will get to that question, but it brought up a somewhat remarkable fact about Star Wars canon. And we actually talked about this on my podcast, Tapcaf Transmissions, earlier this week. Although Bothans are one of the few things actually named in a Star Wars film, and of course they play a massive role in Episode 6, we don't know really anything about them in Star Wars canon. A lot of people have assumed that Bothans in canon will be the same as they were in Star Wars Legends. Basically a species of like furry horse people, generally quite dislikable. We'll get to that in a minute, but there's really no indication that's the case. Rewatching Episode 6, we don't even know whether Bothans are a species or a special forces group or what. All we know is that many Bothans died to get the Rebel Alliance the information for the second Death Star's weakness. I actually think it's kind of remarkable given how in-depth Star Wars has gone into like every single frame of the original trilogy that we don't have a clear answer for what Bothans are in Star Wars canon, and it leads me to believe that there has to be a reason for them not to make this choice. Maybe they don't want to lock themselves out of a future story. Maybe Rogue One 2 Electric Boogaloo will feature the Bothans and they don't want to lock themselves into a specific box. Matt Martin himself said, "It's pretty easy to confirm. We are purposely trying not to show them to leave all possibilities for when that story gets told. The Dude in Resistance is based on the EU design of a Bothan that the animation art team used as a reference for a background alien." And yes, there is Bothan-like creatures in Star Wars Resistance and a few other pieces of media, but we don't know whether they're Bothans. Also, shout out to the Wikipedia pages having that quote readily available. But yeah, it's pretty clear that in the lore, this is a major open spot, and given the commercial success of Rogue One and now the critical success of Andor, could we see Bothan a Star Wars story? Maybe. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but maybe. So obviously we don't know how the Bothan spy network was set up in Star Wars canon, but what about the expanded universe? Bothans are one of the most prominent species in the EU. Their depiction varies. Sometimes they're a bit more horse-like, other times, I don't know, dog-like maybe. Either way, surprise, Bothans are from the planet Bothui. In short, they threw in with the Rebel Alliance during the Galactic Civil War. Then, as the New Republic was forming, they used their past sacrifices and service to secure key roles within the government. Most famously, one of the most hated Star Wars Legends characters, Borsk Phalia, was a Bothan. He's the main political rival of the good guys in the New Republic. He's extremely self-serving. He's willing to allow Luke, Han, Leia, whoever, to die if it furthers his political ambitions. He doesn't take the threat of Thrawn seriously. He hates Admiral Akbar. All around, he's an agent of chaos, not a great dude. He would go on to sacrifice himself during the Yuuzhan Vong War by blowing up his office building and taking out a bunch of Yuuzhan Vong soldiers as they were invading Coruscant. That's another story. Oh, and by the way, he was chief of state at that time. They made asshole horse space president. So, yeah. I'll get to the Spynet stuff in a second, but the Bothans are an interesting species. They're really not well liked because generally Bothans are seen as, like Borsk Phalia, politically motivated, self-serving, willing to throw, especially outsiders, under the bus. Bothui continued to rise in prominence during the New Republic era. It became one of the major sites for New Republic shipbuilding. However, in about 19 ABY, it was nearly the site of a new galactic civil war, as it was discovered that Bothan spies had helped with the destruction of Ka'Mas. Basically, the Ka'Masi were essentially the opposite of the Bothans. They were well loved, they were focused on galactic peace and prosperity, so naturally the Empire didn't like them. During the Ka'Mas crisis, it's revealed that it was actually a group of Bothan spies which helped take down Kalamaz's shield generator, allowing the planet to essentially be glassed by an Imperial fleet. So the Bothans were kind of seen as turncoats, and over Bothawi, hundreds of warships collected themselves, some trying to protect the Bothans, others who wanted to punish Bothawi, and then others still seeing the conflict as an opportunity to fight it out with old system or sector rivals. Anyway, during the Yuuzhan Vong invasion, the Bothans would take a very aggressive stance against the Vong, declaring what was known as Arkai, basically a genocidal rage against the Vong, which was only to be ceased when the last Yuuzhan Vong or the last Bothan was dead. But anyway, what about the Bothan spy net? Well, this was a wonderful opportunity to whip out my Shadows of the Empire West End game sourcebook. I'll just read some key sections. The Bothans operate an intelligence web which seems to stretch across the entire empire, gathering information through agents, moles, bribes, surveillance, and numerous other methods. If there's a secret out there, you can be certain the Bothans will discover it and find some way to profit. And yeah, that last bit is something worth noting. Although Borskvalia and other Bothans would act like their service during the Galactic Civil War was purely out of love for the Rebel Alliance, it's pretty heavily hinted that they were in it for the money. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say they didn't care who came out on top, but maybe. Anyway, the Bothan spy net was comprised of many small cells across the galaxy, and also, shocker, was not made up of only Bothans. Also, check out this image of Bothans from the source book. It's wild. It's my second favorite image of a Bothan I've ever seen, right behind, no, not the one of Borskvalia dying, but this one. And I honestly think you understand why. Anyway, the text goes on to continue that Bothans are considered to be self-serving power mongers, which can make it hard to carry out certain covert operations just because of their notoriety, which is why other species are sometimes used. The individual Bothan cells often didn't trust each other just because of the competitive nature of Bothan society, and they weren't above working with the underworld or criminal organizations. So yeah, the Bothan spy net existed because that's what Bothans were good at, and they spread it across the galaxy, sold information to others. Borskvalia became a bit more personally connected with the Rebel Alliance, so they did seem to favor that side in the war, although really the Bothans did seem to be truly self-serving. And most likely Borskvalia just realized that there wasn't any true path to power for him within the Empire. I know the last thing you're wondering is, were all Bothans so shitty? No. A Seer Sailor from the Rogue Squadron series is pretty cool. She was in it with Gavin Darklighter, which is kind of funny. Then Trace Creefey from the New Jedi Order, and also later, is kind of the opposite of what you'd expect from Bothan. He's generally pretty logical. I liked him as a character. But that's all I've got. See you guys next time.